Hi guys, it's Leah with Family Heritage Living. It has been a few weeks since I have visited with any of you, and I thought it was time to sit down for a minute and to read some of the memories that I've been sharing. The memory I'm going to share today is about a family and the creative ways that the mother found to cook to make food tasty, even though it was different than what most people were eating or what the family themselves had been accustomed to prior to the Great Depression. And it's kind of timely because not only due to the economic turmoil that is going on for many of us, for us, our goats dried up in January, and that's a really lean time for us with milk. Josiah cannot drink regular cow's milk, so even when we purchase milk from the store for the other boys, it leaves him depleted on his menu. With maple syrup being here upon us, and we've been in the midst of it, making maple syrup, I have been trying desperately to figure out what I could make because pancakes have been off the menu. I always put goat's milk in my pancakes. But I decided to go ahead and try water. Now, there's definitely a texture difference, okay, between using milk and water, but I messed with it enough and I learned a couple of things that I was just so excited. We've had, in fact, since we've been cooking down the syrup for the past 3 weeks, we have been through like 2.5 gallons of syrup, and that's hilarious because it tells you how much they're enjoying the pancakes. I do think, though, that we finally hit rock bottom with eating pancakes. And I know 2.5 gallons sounds like a ton of syrup, but really it's about a quart a meal for a family of 6, and 5 of which are very healthy eating males. So with that said, I just wanted to share the story. It's kind of a short story, but it's very intuitive, and I hope it encourages you right now because I know a lot of us are struggling. I've heard from some of you who are just having a hard time and having a hard time being creative. I had one viewer asked if we could do some more videos like we've done in the past about creative cooking, and I think it's time to start that back up right now. We just need encouragement. We need to know that even though we can't put the best on our table, or at times even the most, that there are still things that we can do and we can feel some control by having some knowledge in what to do. So with that, let me share this, and excuse, you can see in the background here over my right shoulder that sap is on full boil right now. We're right in the middle of sapping season or syruping season. So the devotional videos we've been doing, there's been a hum in the background. That's been from the syrup or the sap being on, cooking down. It takes 50 gallons of sap on average to make 1 gallon of syrup. And it's kind of amazing how much it takes to get a gallon of syrup. But as an example, one tree in the forest on average will produce 1 quart of syrup a year. So you look at these big trees and you think you'd get a lot, but you really don't. We've got 82 trees tapped, and our goal this year is to get around 17 gallons of syrup. Now, and that's having to run the stove behind us round the clock and to keep it cooking down. So it's just in the background, and I apologize if it's disruptive, the hissing. I've learned to tune out to it. So the author writes, complete dedication to our Pa and us 6 kids was the game of our life for our Ma. Small, loving, tireless, she spent many hours preparing meals for our family of 8, and sometimes during the Depression years, it was not always easy, even though our 10-acre farm produced much of our food. It was during times like those that our Ma always managed to come up with strange, surprisingly delicious food. She could pick a batch of mustard greens from the East Meadow and transform them into a taste-tempting dish. She could make a dandelion salad that would put some of the present-day tossed salads to shame. Some friends stayed for supper and inquired about a side dish our Ma served. When she said, "That's milkweed you were eating," their eyes popped out with surprise, but they were still smacking their lips when they left. I remember my first taste of burdock. Our Ma came in with an armful of green stalky plants with huge leaves at the top. When these large leaves were snipped off, the plant resembled a bunch of celery. After our Ma peeled off the bitter outer skin, she washed the stalks, then boiled them and rolled them in flour, seasoned to perfection, and fried them in olive oil to a golden brown. They were delicious, although some folks would argue the point. I remember some of the strange sandwiches we took to grammar school. Sometimes our ma would slice her homemade bread thick, and sometimes thin, according to whatever tasty treat she placed between the slices. In winter, when produce was scarce, ham sandwiches sliced from our own cured ham were the bill of fare, and of course it was sliced thin to conserve, and that was when our ma sliced the bread thick in order to satisfy our voracious appetites. Boy, I'm telling you what, with 5 males and the way they work, I grew up in a house full of girls, so I'm 30 years later, I'm still amazed at how much food we go through. And they're so thin. There's the thing. That's what the adult males are they just work it off. In the summer, our ma created all kinds of lip-smacking sandwiches, some of which caused a great deal of curiosity and speculation among our schoolmates. For instance, she would pick a fresh garden eggplant, slice it, dip the slices in her special corn flour mixture, and fry them in olive oil to a rich brown. Now, these thick eggplant sandwiches caused some giggling and whispering among our schoolmates, which was the cause of some embarrassment to me, and whereupon I would find a lonely spot to eat my lunch. It happened that I had to visit the outhouse and left my eggplant sandwich momentarily, and when I returned, half of the sandwich had vanished. Well, it wasn't long before the word spread about my palate-pleasing eggplant sandwiches, and offers to trade came from every which way. Another time, our lunch consisted of pie-shaped portions of our ma's homemade pizza. Of course, most of the school kids never heard of pizza, or if they did, they turned up their noses at it. This pizza, created with ma's special touch, was made up of a tender, flaky crust, topped with spicy, sweet tomato sauce, bits of homemade sausage, several cheeses made in ma's kitchen, garden fresh chopped peppers, and sprinkled lovingly with olive oil, then baked to taste tempting perfections. Well, the pizza got the same treatment from our schoolmates as the eggplant sandwiches, namely giggles and whispered speculations. So again, I found myself eating alone until curiosity got the best of someone who took a taste and immediately thereafter begged to swap lunches. The sandwich that topped them all, however, was the bell pepper sandwich. Fried in olive oil to a tender, juicy perfection, several of these large sliced garden fresh bell peppers were placed between 2 large oval slices of our ma's creative bread, wrapped quickly in wax paper to keep in the tantalizing flavor, and slipped into paper bags. When lunchtime rolled around, I opened the paper bag and found a bologna sandwich in place of the pepper. My search for the traitor was fruitless, so I proceeded to eat the bologna sandwich. Halfway through the sandwich, a little red-headed kid named Bertrand rushed past me, holding his hand to his mouth and making very strange guttural noises as he dashed to the pump, where he pumped madly with one hand and splashed water on his mouth with the other. Somehow our ma had accidentally got hold of a hot pepper and sliced it with the sweet pepper. After Bertrand's dilemma, the kids thought twice about swiping my lunches, and I can say here that never again was I ashamed of our ma's unusual sandwiches. Creativity is lost through the generations in the kitchen, and I think we're just at an era where empowering ourselves is most important, and I think many people are doing that. I know the finest compliment I have ever been given, and I've been given many by my menfolk, they're not sparse on them, but RJ told me one time, it's been years, but we were eating, and we got to talking about, I know those chef shows were really popular at one time, and when RJ was younger, he knew a young man that desired to be a chef, and he said to me, I don't feel that it takes a lot of creativity to be a trained chef. He said, what I think it takes a lot of creativity is like you do, Mama, and you pull things together that you wouldn't normally see and you make it good. And I've held that compliment in my heart and have used it to prod forward when, maybe the pantry was thin, or I wasn't sure exactly what we were going to eat. And a lot of it too, as a woman, if you're not the keeper of the home and you're not the one preparing the meals, for any of you that are listening to this that are the one receiving the meal, you would be surprised what appreciation does for the cook who has to be creative. she starts to look at it less as a drudgery or less as a, oh dear Lord, what am I going to do, to, okay, what can I do today that will please them? So just a little thought for you that are given meals that maybe you're not quite sure that that's what you want. Appreciation goes a long way. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the story. If you have any comments or memories, please be sure to put those in our comment section. And until next time, God bless.